Everyone, we are taking a look at Deepwater Palace in normal mode, and this is from a DPS heals point of view. Avoid these yellow lines right up at the front. Shortly after will be a cleave that is going on right behind the tanks. You can see it in the background there. You just have to watch out and make sure that that isn't turned towards the raid. If you do, you have to dodge out of that cleave zone. Up next, there's a code in the center of the screen that we're going to take a look at. This code number and the timer is very important. It will tell you where to go during the code phases. So this one, in this case, we have a number 3. So we're going to go to corner number 3 when the time comes. So just again, avoid these lines. Up next is seeds. Usually at the seed phase, we're going to start moving towards our corner. Especially make sure you spread out so that you don't overlap with seeds. And you can see we're going to corner number 3. Drose's is going to stand all the way in the corner, and if you are in corner 2, 1, or 4, you go to those. If you go to the wrong corner, you are likely to kill a couple of your friends, so it's really important you go to the correct corner for that. Afterwards is share damage. You'll see that there's a share damage there. We go to the star behind the corner. Some guilds will stay in their code and do the share damage there. Here you can see Drose's is going to the white star in the corner to hide that share damage. That way the boss does not attack you. Now if you share damage, just be careful of the tanks, because the tanks can take 1 share damage but not 2. So if there is a share damage on the tank, please try to avoid doing that. Up next is going to be a scorpion and octopus phase. So you want the orange to go to the orange marker and the purple to go to the purple. In this video we're using the number 1 marker, but later on we actually tend to stack the octopus on the boss, and that way it will allow us to DPS over by the boss, and then we switch to the scorpions next. If you overlap a scorpion and an octopus and kill them at the same time, it will wipe the group. There's a buff in the center of the screen. You want to make sure that one of them drops off before you attack the second group. If your DPS is fast enough, you will skip the octopus and the scorpion phase, which is what I did in the original video that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to switch over to that now for the next set of phases. When the boss gets near 66% health, in this case we're going to do 68% health, you want to move to your group number. Your group numbers for this are the group number in the raid frame, the column. You do not go to the code number. It's important to point this out because if you go to your code number, you may not have a healer in the group. If your guild needs a tank in there, which we don't use tanks in the totems for normal, but if you need a tank in there, it needs to be assigned ahead of time. You cannot just randomly go to a code number. Boss Johnson is in group number 2, so he will go over to the totem by the number 2 marker. Now all you need to do is stand next to the totem and it will port you in to the boss area, and you can go ahead and DPS the boss that's in here. If you are a healer at this point, make sure that you use big heals to remove this blue buff on the raid frame. That will kill your players if you do not heal that off. Also, when you're in this boss area, there'll be these yellow lines. Just avoid them and you should be all right. These big heals for healers happen twice when I notice it while you're in here. Once the mob is down, just go ahead and wait until all 4 corners have completed killing the boss, at which point it will port you back out to the raid. At the same time you are inside killing the mob, you will need to have 1 person outside collecting potions. Now this is very important because if you don't collect potions, it will wipe the raid, and 1 person can easily do this. In normal, we have our tanks collecting them. Start with the potion that's kind of near the boss but not under him, then the one under the boss, and then move to the one next to that, and then continue to move around the circle. Just be careful not to get too close to one of the totems at first, because until people are ported in, you could end up being ported into a totem. Healers, if you're further away, you do not need to start with the one under the boss, but just make sure you don't get too close to a totem so you don't get ported in. Collect 1 potion after the other. You do not want that timer to reach 0 or it will wipe the raid. Now when everybody's done killing the mobs inside, you'll be ported back out. If you did not get one of the mobs down, it will at this point wipe the entire raid. So make sure all those mobs get down at the same time. Now we're going to go and avoid the lines again, and at this point you're going to get a new code number. It is very important to look at this new code number because this is not the same code number that you had before. If you go to the same code number, you will wipe part of your raid. So we're going to go ahead and look at that code number, avoid the lines and perhaps any cleave that the tanks get a little skewed. And we're going to start to move a little bit towards our codes. Now, once you get the seeds, just move away from the other players and you can see other players start to move towards that code corner. Avoid the cleave if it happens. There, that one is where it should be. And then go to the code in the corner. You'll be able to see that once it goes off, you can run back towards the center and do that share damage. So here we're going to go back to the center for share damage. Again, you can stay in the corners if you are doing the share damage in the corners instead of behind the pillar like where we're putting it. Now here we've got a one share damage that's kind of close to the tanks, so I wouldn't put another one there. We are then skipping the mechanic for the octopus. If you have the octopus phase, make sure you do that afterwards. Again, here we're porting into the boss. Kill the group that's inside here. We've got one for each of the four corners. Again, this is your group number in the raid frame. Healers, watch that big overheal that needs to happen to clear off that freeze on you. Avoid the lines while you're inside and take down the mob that is inside this. Now this is a big DPS check for some guilds. You have to make sure to get that down in time. If you don't get that down in time, you will be ported back again and it will wipe a large section of your raid. So good job, boss, because he seemed to be like one of the only DPS left in this room, but he got that mob down. And now you're ported back out and it's pretty much the end of the fight. You still have to pay attention to the codes. Again, you'll get a new code at this point, and then you're going to, it's not, there you go, there's the code. So avoid the lines increase more and more as you go on. Just avoid those lines. Now you've got the cleave in the back, just try to avoid that in case the tanks have it faced the wrong way. There's an ad you'll see running around in the center. If you happen to get that and it runs around on you, just bring it towards the tanks. The tanks will pull it off of you, or they will AoE taunt it off of you if they have the boss. So just move out of the way for that. I can see bosses standing a little bit further back. It's probably to avoid a cleave just in case it gets turned around. Now the seeds are next. Again, after the seeds, you're going to move towards your corner. Again, you've got a new code. Here, boss has got a different code this time than he had the other previous 2 times. So make sure you're going with the correct code. Now, after that code goes off in the corners, go ahead and go back and you will be able to do the share damage again. It's just kind of a repeat of the max. I never see it get as far as these scorpions again, but I suppose that you could get there if it was a little slow. We are using a different group here for this video, so it's not as clean as I would have, as you know, sometimes we go through, but that's all right. It's important to learn the max. And so here again, the boss will hop towards the ones where you share damage. The tanks can just pull it back afterwards. And that is the end of the fight. Thank you so much for watching. You're watching VGO40, and we will see you next time.